Hello my beautiful watchers and welcome back to the Dom's Prisoner Retrospective. If this is your first time joining me, I did a quick explanation about who and what the prisoner is in the episode immediately preceding this one. Now, some of you have been asking me why I always talk about the last two episodes in this series in such unusually ominous tones. Well, not to double down or anything, but you'll see. You'll all see. Well, now that the dark foreshadowing's out of the way, let's get started, shall we? Okay, up first this time, Hammer into Anvil. Unusually, this episode starts without number 6, instead showing a girl dubbed number 73 being interrogated in hospital after a suicide attempt. Rather sadistically, the new number 2 shows the poor thing proof that her husband is cheating on her while she's stuck in the village. Her screams of despair can apparently be heard for quite a distance. Someone's in danger! Number 6 away! Alas, he arrives too late to do anything other than watch her throw herself out of the window to her death. Not entirely surprisingly, number 2's behaviour is a big no-no for our hero.
You shouldn't have interfered, number 6. You'll pay for this. You will.
Later, number 2 invites number 6 round to talk. 6 declines rather thoroughly, so 2 has to insist. It seems the new number 2 is somewhat more aggressive than his predecessors and more keen to compare the size of his sword to number 6's.
Du musst Amboss oder Hammer sein.
You must be Anvil or Hammer.
And you see me as the Anvil? Precisely.
Considering McGowan's staunch Catholicism, I very much doubt he was aware of how homoerotic this episode was going to turn out.
I am going to hammer you.
2 pushes his luck a little bit too far with 6 and gets a telling off from number 1, forcing him to let him go for now. Number 6 then visits the local store, depressingly now manned by a new shopkeeper after the events of Checkmate. He behaves very strangely, playing the first few seconds of 6 identical records, then making cryptic notes on a newspaper. Predictably, the shopkeeper reports this straight to number 2, though for the life of them they can't figure out what the hell he was doing. Number 6's unusual behaviour continues until, overcome by curiosity, number 2 sends his personal crony, number 14, around to grab one of his notes. The subject matter is very surprising.
Number 6. A plant.
6 continues to behave like he's filing reports on number 2, and it escalates remarkably fast. Number 2 starts acting extremely paranoid of all his underlings, convinced there's a conspiracy forming to destroy him.
Well, I swear, number 2,
Of course, you're innocent. You know nothing.
nothing at all.
Number 14 offers to off number 6 and make it look like an accident. To this end, he challenges him to a game apparently named Kosho, and I can safely say Kosho is the most undeniably amazing thing I've ever had the privilege to observe. Just drink it in, beautiful watchers. 2 grown men dressed in bright red kimonos, kickboxing each other on trampolines and attempting to throw one another into a pool of water. 2 beautiful. Should have sent a poet. Going on with his day as if he hadn't just partaken in the most awesome activity ever conceived, number 6 buys a cuckoo clock with a box attached to it. He uses the box to capture a pigeon and leaves the clock outside number 2's building. Number 2 once again jumps to a few conclusions.
That's it must be a bomb.
At this point, a few of his underlings are starting to get a little tired of his shit. 6 attaches a message to his new avian friend, prompting the village control room to deploy a flagpole-based non-fatal bird ray gun. Holy shit, we're seeing a bunch of cool stuff in this episode. His note foreshadows an important message the next day. Said next day, 6 goes out to the beach and signals something in Morse code.
Did you get it?
Yes, sir.
What's it say? Well?
Pat a cake, baker's man. Make me a cake as fast as you can.
At this point, I'm thinking number 2 really should have realised number 6 was punking him. Oh, sorry, spoilers. And number 6 then approaches number 14 in a cafe and whispers sweet nothings in his ear.
You must be out of your mind.
The rain on your face, the wind on your cheek. Don't look now. The waiter's watching you.
It's okay if you have a boner, number 14. Number 6 does it for me too. This drives number 2 completely off the deep end.
You too. You're in this plot, aren't you? Oh, yes! Get out! Get out of this house!
Hey! Don't talk to the midget butler that way. We both know he's the real star of this show. Upset that his BFF has booted him out, number 14 immediately jumps into bed with number 6. I'm still pretty sure McGowan wasn't clued in on this stuff, but it's starting to get questionable. Shit, I should have said be seeing you. Can we try that again? 6 then goes to face off with number 2. Number 2 is so far gone by this point he rants like a madman, completely convinced that number 6 is actually working for the village higher-ups. He gives up all hope and reports his own breakdown to the authorities. I can't help but feel that number 6 took a bit of a leap of faith on this one. It seems a bit convenient that number 2 was so easily and so quickly driven to paranoia. Though, I suppose it's conceivable that he managed to get a good enough read on the guy during their interactions to know he was already a little unhinged to start with, and I suppose the only thing he was risking was looking a little stupid sending messages to no one. Anyways, it's nice to see number 6 winning one for once, and this serves as a good example of why this man is not to be taken lightly no matter how much power you think you have over him. And next, it's your funeral. This episode starts by playing up the suspenseful music for all it's worth.
At last.
Okay fellas, I know it's been a while since number 6 got any action, but why are you so excited, you bloody voyeurs? The hot blonde appeals to number 6 for help, but it seems it's his turn to be paranoid and aggressive now, and he tells her to leave, triggering a drug that the new number 2 explains was planted inside her system unknown to her and reacts to stress. Incidentally, it appears the new numero dos has a bit of a Hugh Hefner chic going on. I can't say I disapprove. He plot expositions that he arranged for her to faint so it would set off number 6's overpowering white knight complex. He turns out to be quite correct, as number 6 is a lot more polite to her when she wakes up.
Exhaustion.
No. Drugs.
Trust me, I'm a bit of an expert on this subject at this point. She tries to convince number 6 that she's on the level and needs his assistance to stop an assassination from happening in the village, but 6 is just a little bit too rude to her and she storms off. For some reason, this annoys the top brass of the village. Brown trouser time for Suave 2. The village then spends the next day watching number 6 like a hawk as he does his daily activities. While number 2 discusses business of number 100, wow, that must be a depressing designation, number 6 talks to a resident who's been around for a while about a word his new friend mentioned, jammers. Apparently jammers are prisoners who try to get one over on the village by constantly coming up with plots and escape plans they don't actually have any intention of carrying out, but the village still has to investigate anyway, costing them time and effort. Now while this may seem a little petty at first glance, I actually think it's a surprisingly clever act of defiance if you're not macho enough to occasionally beat the piss out of your captors like number 6. It turns out the village has access to a computer that can predict number 6's behaviour and factor in a surprising amount of variables. Huh. I wonder if they managed to reverse engineer some of the general, or maybe this is a program they've had for a while. It would certainly explain how they always seem to know what's going on, but that does make me wonder, why did the last Crazy Pants number 2 not try to use it to figure out what number 6 was up to? Oh fuck it, it doesn't matter. He's playing Kosho again! There really is nothing I don't love about that sport. Pretty in Pink takes the opportunity to switch out number 6's watch with a broken one, prompting him to take it to the local watchmaker to have it fixed. He notices some strange devices in the workshop while he's there.
Intriguing. What's it for?
It's nothing, it's just a toy.
It turns out his new attractive friend is the watchmaker's daughter. 6 recognized the watchmaker's toys as a remote bomb detonator, so is more willing to believe her that there's an assassination plan afoot. 2 then takes this opportunity to smugly remind everyone that he's behind everything so far. Boobs McGee explains that her father has got tired of just jamming all the time and intends to actually blow up number 2. She's convinced it's a bad idea as the village will respond with oppressive force. 6 agrees that bringing explosives into the mix is probably a poor decision, but he's unable to talk the watchmaker out of it. He resorts to warning number 2, but 2 pretends not to believe him. Number 6 does some snooping and finds out the plan is to set off a bomb in number 2's chain of office during the handover ceremony. I feel beholden to mention that neither of these things have ever featured in the village before, but there you are. The next day, the final piece of the puzzle is finally revealed. It turns out James Blonde here isn't actually number 2. Yet. The position is still technically occupied by his predecessor. 6 realizes that it's this number 2 that's the target for assassination, and it's not a jammer plot. The village has manipulated the situation to get rid of him.
Me? Tomorrow I hand over to my successor. I retire.
Perhaps they're trying to save a pension.
And they've managed to trick number 6 into being unable to do anything about it because they've doctored the footage of him to make it look like he's cried wolf to all of the previous number 2s.
What was the reason for it?
To discredit me,
Why?
I was the only one he might have believed.
Fortunately, it seems the old number 2 isn't entirely stupid and at least considers the possibility that the village intends to have him killed off and blame it on a resident. Unfortunately, he seems resigned to the prospect, much to number 6's annoyance. During the ceremony, number 6 manages to figure out where Discount Einstein is hiding just in time and grabs the detonator before he can set off the bomb. Number 100 foolishly tries to take it off him, but number 6 shows that asshole why he's 94 numbers more important than him and gives the detonator to the former number 2 so he can bugger off and be killed somewhere else.
You see, no? Time?
While most of this episode is nicely entertaining, there were a few glaring plot holes I couldn't help but take notice of. If this guy is supposed to be the current number 2, how come number 6 hasn't met him before, but he has met Legally Blonde here? Couldn't they have written it so they were killing off a new number 2, not an old one? Why the hell didn't 6 just take the plastic explosive and the fake medallion the night before when it was in his freaking hands? There's no way the watchmaker would have had time to make a new bomb the next day. While it makes perfect sense to me that the village would occasionally kill off an old number 2 and make it seem like not their doing so that other employees wouldn't get nervous about their own retirement plans, it seems odd that part of this plan involves turning the village into a nastier prison as punishment for this supposed crime. If the village wants to be harsher, it can just be harsher, it doesn't need an excuse. And if they don't plan to crack down on people, why does number 6 give a fuck about them killing off an old number 2 he doesn't even know? And finally, holy shit, with that much plastic explosive in the medallion, I don't know why Peroxide Clark Kent is being so smug, because he sure as fuck is going up with him. As I said though, aside from these issues, a solid episode. So, there we go, 2 more episodes down, both most satisfying despite a slightly disappointing lack of Rover. It's interesting to me that they had 2 episodes where number 6 comes out on top back to back. Also interesting they contain the only 2 appearances of fucking awesome Kosho in them, but I guess I should give harking on about the release order a rest just this once. As usual, my beautiful watchers, you have my eternal gratitude for joining me, and I do hope you will continue to do so. Be seeing you.
I'll listen, as long as what you're saying doesn't become too obviously phony, yes.